My phone really lit up with a lot of text messages last night with people going, what is happening? Because President Trump obviously is meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he makes this statement that we are going to take over Gaza, and we meaning the United States of America, and we're going to turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East, make it a beautiful resort town that America controls. And I think this is a pretty interesting proposal. We also have to remember who President Trump is and the art of the deal concept, which we've now seen over and over again in just the first 2 weeks of the Trump presidency. We have seen the deals going on in Canada, in Mexico, all over the world. There's just a lot of movement happening. So sometimes you can throw these kind of statements out there. Do I think they actually are talking about this and having consideration? Absolutely. But do I also think this is just another bit of a warning shot to say, hey, you're not going to want to mess with us. Let's get those hostages free. Let's do what we need to do, because we will just take over this land. Whether that's Israel taking over land that's already theirs, or whether that's the U.S. coming in, because he said, hey, there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of hidden bombs. We're going to come in. We're going to clear it out. We're going to do a lot of work here, and then we'll rebuild it, and we'll make it something great.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. With the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region.
Look, I had a conversation with a friend today who we were going back and forth about this situation. And this has been an ongoing battle. It did not start on October 7th of 2023. That was not the beginning of all of this. That was the final escalation point to get to a war which we've never seen before, where Israel actually went on was on the defensive because they had to after that. After 1,000+ people were slaughtered, what do you expect them to do? And part of war, which I'm sure we'll discuss, is always, historically, maybe not in America, not in recent history, because the way we've handled the war on terror, a lot of times it's land that you're talking about. And there are discussions on where, obviously, the Palestinian citizens would go. Could they get moved to another new plot of land? Could they get moved to other places? And look, as we know, there are a lot of innocent civilians there, by the way, even living in Israel, that are Arab and Palestinian backgrounds. And these people don't necessarily agree with what's going on in Hamas.
Hamas didn't just do a hostile takeover. They were elected by the people of Gaza. The people of Gaza selected Hamas to be their leadership. Now, they haven't had elections since, but they did install them as opposed to the falsely described more moderate faction of the Palestinians, the PLO. But they did make that choice. And unfortunately, because of UNRWA propping up Gaza, we know how corrupt and insidious their funding there is through the school system, that there's a lot of brainwashed people in Gaza that believe their only hope is Hamas through armed struggle. But you have to also look at this. You talk about the negotiating tactic. One, it's textbook art of the deal. Say something out of the box, outlandish, and then that sets draws the lines for how to negotiate. But the media cannot handle this. And I don't understand how, now that he has been a presidential figure since he announced in 2015 that he was running for president, they still haven't figured him out. And so you see New York Times headline, Trump's Gaza takeover talk draws widespread opposition. Wall Street Journal, Trump campaigned on ending foreign entanglements. Now he wants Gaza. They cannot handle it.
Look how quickly the tariff situations ended. Because, again, I think he has said something like the fact that, they can 95% think you're sane and 5% think you're crazy, something like that. But it's at 5%. If they think you're crazy, you may actually go ahead with some of these things.
That was clear what he said yesterday. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. It's just not going to happen. You can't just keep throwing money, like we did at UNRWA and in the Palestinian area of a Gaza Strip. You can't keep doing that and think that there's going to be a different outcome. There's not. Hamas is going to continue to attack Israel. We've seen that over and over again. There's nothing you can do to appease them, so they have to be taken out of the equation.
Yeah, we got a great guest in studio today. We don't have a lot of in-studio guests, so it's always fun. We have a lot of times it's just members of our team. So Caleb Myers, who has been an ACLJ, someone we've worked with over the years. Caleb, you've worked with us on the hostage situation. You've worked on with so many different things, as you are the founder and chairman of Arise. I want our audience, before we get into what's new and what's happening now, to kind of understand that background of you, where you came from, and also your work with us here at the ACLJ.
Sure. So I'm an Israeli. I founded Arise, which is the Alliance to Reinforce Israel's Security and Economy. And we basically look at the biggest strategic challenges facing Israel and reach out to our friends around the world, most of whom are Christians who believe in the Bible, see Israel as a miraculous fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And we find great organizations and friends like the American Center for Law and Justice who can work with us to help Israel on various issues. And I just, from the beginning, want to say thank you so much to ACLJ for everything you did, particularly with regards to the hostages. And there were several, I think, out of the first 7 girls who were just released in the last 2 weeks, 4 of them had family members that were on our delegations that we actually represented together.
Unfortunately, it wasn't just an apathetic view of the American government over the last 4 years. It was an antagonistic one. It was stopping offensive weapons shipments so that Israel could end the war quicker, what did that lead to? More death, more suffering. Anytime the U.S. is giving aid, it's always to UNRWA or through USAID, to organizations on the ground which are not supportive of freedom. They're supportive of the oppressive government that has been installed in Gaza. So it wasn't even just that America was sitting on its hands. It was that they were actively engaging on the wrong side of a conflict, and they were helping prop up the aggressor. And now, hopefully, we see better days ahead and potentially a better future ahead.
Yeah, I think the attitude of the current administration is very refreshing when it comes to that. It's, the way I saw it as an Israeli is that the Biden administration supported Israel's defense, but not Israel's offense. So they tried to manage the war instead of us. You should go into Rafah. You shouldn't go into Rafah. If you do, we're not going to give you these weapons and so on and so forth. As if they would do a better job than our military on the ground at managing the war that we're carrying out, right? Whereas Trump is saying, look, you guys know how to fight a war. We'll give you everything you need, get the war over, bring things back to a peaceful situation. That's a much more helpful position.